Meghan a geriatric mother. The family claims and states that Meghan had a hysterectomy. How can a woman with a hysterectomy be pregnant? And most of all, why did the royal family, go along with this? And what's going to happen now that this has come out? This is a punishable crime. This is fraud in the highest levels.
Things just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere.
They want to hide their secrets, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know.
This crisis won't die down until the irrefutable truth comes out.
So all of the pictures, my point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy.
With either Archie or Lily. And all Harry and Meghan need to do is prove to us that she popped those babies out. And that's all they need to do. And if they don't, it is unfair on the children. It's also unfair on the royal family. It needs to happen. They need to prove that those children, Meghan...
I do believe because there are no delivery certificates.
And Harry are not entitled to privacy in this matter. And their privacy is trumped by our right to know that no bastard is going to sit on the throne of this country.
Meghan is using everything for publicity and not really truly there. We know how she treats her family and friends.
And I thought, what is she not contextually aware of? She's trying to hide something. This is really sloppy pool.
Whole description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know the first interview was...
A royal physician was not allowed to examine her womb. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but if I were pregnant with a royal child, you would want that child in the best care of the best medical practitioners that money could buy.
Everything she's done has only drawn more speculation and brought the controversies back up about how Meghan and Harry have handled all of this, as well as the rumors that perhaps they used a surrogate for one or both of the children.
That she has that child in a vice-like grip. And it's, you know, if they were a husband and wife team, there are laws now about coercive control.
I mean, her father is recovering from a stroke, literally about a 3-hour drive. I mean, could you believe that? She doesn't have a father.
I grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows. I would have loved to have had siblings. That's why I'm so excited to be pregnant, so that Archie has someone.
Like, why lie? It was just so truly bizarre.
What began as tabloid chatter is now framed as a widening crisis. Samantha Markle's continued public pressure keeps the controversy alive, and the story is presented as one that will not fade until a definitive truth emerges.
In my opinion, she would still be a waitress if it wasn't for Dad.
She was sold as a modern Cinderella, but the video recasts that image as performance rather than destiny, suggesting the fairy tale cracked the moment image-making overtook authenticity.
Did you make Kate cry?
No, the reverse happened.
The narration reframes Meghan's rise as a dramatic collision between celebrity ambition and royal expectation, portraying the royal story as something that spiraled from dream into spectacle.
When you have been lied about for a series of years, how hurtful that is.
Every public appearance is presented as carefully timed and emotionally charged, as if private pain and public image were being managed with the precision of a campaign.
People think her kids are fake. They think they're AI.
I'm going to quote Tom Bauer by saying, he said, look, we all laughed at Samantha and she was right. And everything she said has come true.
Behind the smiles and royal pageantry, the video positions Samantha as the family insider who believes Meghan is protecting a secret too explosive to stay buried forever.
There's a very big difference. It was deliberate.
The stakes are raised sharply here. The questions are no longer framed as gossip, but as claims that could affect the pregnancies, the children's status, and the wider royal narrative.
This scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
When Samantha urged people to examine the timeline, the internet did exactly that. In the video's telling, what followed was not mild curiosity, but a wave of scrutiny intense enough to threaten Meghan's image of flawless royal motherhood.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample.
The narration invites the audience to reject the polished palace version of events and instead view this story as the hidden side of Meghan's public image, one exposed not by strangers, but by her own sister.
I think she's taking advantage of a very weakened man and getting him to say things that you just shouldn't be saying on television.
Rather than accepting the part of bitter relative, Samantha is framed as the reluctant witness, someone who watched Meghan rise from actress to duchess while steadily reshaping the past for a global audience.
We're paying multi-million-dollar PR firms to tell your story the way you controlled it, the way you wanted it told, while you also disparaged and silenced others.
The video shifts from public branding to private fracture, arguing that Meghan's separation from her family was not gradual distance, but a deliberate erasure carried out behind the language of grace and compassion.
Someday Meghan's going to realize that she's obviously missing out on a really good, tight-knit family. I mean, we're all still together all the time, no matter what.
The contrast is made personal here. A woman who publicly champions empathy is shown in the video's framing as having turned away from the very family members who once stood by her.
She said, I lost my father. We knew that she didn't lose our dad. She iced our father.
Samantha's turning point is presented as simple but powerful. If Meghan could reshape the story, Samantha would force the original version back into view, starting with one chilling demand to examine the timeline.
If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. You know, this is what it is.
The timeline becomes the heart of the narrative. Dates, photos, and missing details are portrayed as pieces that never fully fit, while Samantha is cast as someone calm enough to let the inconsistencies speak for themselves.
Meghan Markle gave birth to Lily because this is what's called plausible deniability. They want to be able to say, hey, we never claimed that she was our daughter in that announcement. They're legally covering their backs. There's just too many unknowns. And then, of course, we have that the doctor that allegedly delivered Lily quit her practice 2 weeks after giving birth to Lily or delivering Lily. That sentence there is missing. That is a vital sentence that Meghan Markle chose not to put in an official statement because she knows she would get into a lot of legal trouble and she needed plausible deniability.
According to the video, once Samantha spoke, the polished royal image began to crack. What was once dismissed as fringe speculation is reframed as a deeper mystery that only grew more tangled the closer people looked.
Meghan put on her Instagram feed earlier this week with Archie in the garden. What did you see?
The pregnancy announcement is retold not as a joyful royal moment, but as the beginning of a puzzle. An official story, surrounded in the video's framing by missing witnesses, missing details, and unanswered questions.
The doctor has come forward and has absolutely revealed, and you're going to listen to her. She has absolutely revealed and confirmed that Rachel Meghan Markle was never pregnant, never gave birth to any children.
The second pregnancy is described as following the same pattern: limited access, delayed documentation, and a silence that the video suggests only deepened suspicion rather than calming it.
Harry and Meghan they would refuse to kind of show him. They finally kind of showed him off in South Africa, and it was very much, kind of a display, and she went to the polo match, and again, people wondered because it's like, she just didn't, it was a very stiff way she was holding him. It was just looked odd, and you looked at her and compared her to Kate, and you can't help the comparisons. And Kate is playing with baby Louis, and he's, kissing her, trying on sunglasses, and Meghan does not even look at Louis at all, and Louis is looking at her.
Public appearances are portrayed as strangely controlled and overly polished, with the palace's silence acting less like reassurance and more like space for speculation to grow unchecked.
And then the next holiday card we see, I believe it was the famous Lilibet's born, and here's little Archie. And that little kid who's Archie doesn't look anything like the little kid we've seen in the Harry and Meghan documentary on Netflix that we saw. I don't know who that kid was in the picture, or even Lily Beth doesn't look like the picture that they've shown of her. Those kids didn't look the same.
Here the narration moves from coincidence to pattern. Samantha's warning is framed not as random accusation, but as a trail of details that, if connected, could redefine years of royal imagery.
Don't like to say it, but I gotta say it. I don't know of anybody that cold to do this.
A new figure enters the story. DL, presented as an anonymous woman stepping out from secrecy with a claim serious enough to shift the controversy from family dispute to full-blown scandal.
Where are the children? Where are Harry and Meghan's kids? And do they honestly exist? Now, I know that that's kind of like a little bit conspiratorial, but you know what? I'm down the rabbit hole now since I've accepted the moon bump story. And if the moon bump story was true and she didn't actually have these pregnancies, then is it possible that she has faked having the kids?
DL is introduced not as a spectator, but as someone claiming direct involvement. The world she describes is stylized as secretive and controlled, private clinics, false names, and carefully managed appearances.
Meghan Markle used a surrogate. That's been something posited literally for well over 3 years when it comes to her firstborn son Archie and even her daughter Lilibet. And many people even wonder, are their children even real?
The account grows darker as every visit is described as deliberate, hidden, and disposable. Public image on one side, private arrangements on the other, with no trace meant to remain behind.
Meghan just went into labor when really Archie had been born for several hours at that point is a foolish game to play. And it only diminished credibility and trust. And it honestly made people kind of mad and irritated about the situation because it's like, well, why would you do that? Why are you lying to people? Why are you trying to mislead people?
DL is recast as a ghost mother, someone claiming she was used, concealed, and then erased. The video frames her voice not as gossip, but as a furious challenge to the official story.
I'll tell you why. What she told the royal family, what she told Harry, wouldn't have jived, wouldn't have been consistent with the truth.
The narration escalates by shifting from allegation to supposed evidence. Forms, coded ultrasounds, and payment trails are described as the kind of material that could turn rumor into something far harder to dismiss.
People wouldn't, for the rest of maybe Archie and Lily's life, they may deal with questions about this surrogacy. And the only people they have to blame are their own parents who have fueled these rumors.
Each claimed record is presented as lining up too neatly with public milestones, as if private movements and palace photo ops were parts of the same hidden design.
Here, the doctor talks about both the children, and listen to what she says.
So you tell me to tell you something that maybe a dozen people actually know that's going to come out very soon. Okay. Meghan Markle, the reason why you watch her interviews and she just seems off, she's owned by a pharmaceutical company. The 2 children that she had, they're not hers. She didn't have them with Harry. And how her and Harry met is that she's a prostitute.
When DL refuses to disappear, the video frames the fallout as immediate and uncontrollable. Hashtags surge, forums ignite, and even without confirmation, the claims spread faster than official responses can contain them.
Duchess of Sussex, no longer HRH, was safely delivered of a son, and she and her child are both doing well. So back to the tradition of putting out a framed bulletin or a gilded easel outside Buckingham Palace after royal births has been going on since 1837, so it's a cool tradition. And George, Charlotte, and Louis' easels listed the doctors' names with signatures, birth weight and time, and referenced the royal family. But Archie's notably only included mention of the Queen and the royal family in the wording, but not on the actual document. And then they omitted the signatures from the doctor's presence.
The turning point comes with a public challenge. The moment DL offers a DNA test on live television, the story is no longer portrayed as loose speculation, but as an open dare for proof.
They decide, okay, well, you know, we have to come out and like show the baby in some way, but we're not coming out to the street. The filthy masses are not going to have anything to do with our kid. So then they show up and there's Meghan in her white dress with Harry, and he's holding this completely still baby.
Palace silence becomes the central tension. By refusing to answer, the institution leaves room for the very question it seems most eager to avoid. What if the accusation is true?
When you're pregnant, there's not a pillow under your skirt. And there's live footage of her walking towards camera with her abdomen swaying left to right in a black and white checkered dress.
That single challenge detonates across the internet. Social feeds, headlines, and comment wars turn the story into a public battleground where belief and outrage spread at the same speed.
That it just really kind of boggles the mind. I mean, just for titles, for example. So when Archie was first born, they said they didn't want him to have a title. He was going to be a private citizen. I was like, bravo, you understand. He's not going to be a working member of the royal family. He is going to have to live a normal life, get a normal job. That is fantastic. And then it came out later in the Oprah Winfrey interview. Well, they denied him a title and security because he is a mixed race child. And then it was kind of like, and then later she kind of backtracked.
As the noise grows louder, the lack of any direct response is presented as its own message. In the video's framing, silence becomes more damaging than denial, pushing more people to dig for answers.
Or talking about her experiences on podcasts or things like that, or just posting a lot more pictures. It has drawn a lot of attention to the controversies surrounding her kids, her pregnancies, how the children came into the world, the whole thing. Everything she's done has only drawn more speculation and brought the controversies back up.
Samantha steps back into the storm without fully endorsing or rejecting the latest claims. Instead, she drops a single line about truth and questions, measured words that only intensify the fire.
If you look at this, Meghan Markle has been incredibly quiet about the birth, but mostly the pregnancy of these children. Everything has been shady. The one who's been blabbing and saying crazy things is Prince Harry.
What began as a family feud is elevated into a constitutional threat. The narration argues that if a DNA claim ever proved true, the fallout would strike not just reputations, but the foundations of the monarchy itself.
I have simply not made an announcement to the fact that all of this speculation about the children's arrival.
The stakes are spelled out directly. If the story crossed from rumor into proof, the children's position within royal succession could suddenly become a matter of national consequence.
What Meghan and Harry did instead was they did not announce it when Meghan went into labor, for whatever reason. They kept Archie's birth private for over 8 hours. They did not tell people that he was actually born and arrived until 8 hours later. They also issued a confusing press release suggesting Meghan had just gone into labor after Archie had already been born. So they were playing games here with this. And the result was that the media and the public felt misled because they were misled.
Behind palace walls, the video imagines panic, lawyers, strategy calls, and arguments over whether modern realities could collide with centuries-old royal rules. At the same time, the public debate widens into questions about titles, race, tradition, and who gets protected when institutions feel threatened.
Just made the whole thing seem more bizarre. Meghan later claimed in interviews across Netflix and Oprah that Archie was denied a prince title due to institutional decisions, possibly rooted in race. Buckingham Palace's position was that Archie wasn't entitled to a title under current royal protocols, which reserve prince status for grandchildren of the monarch, not great-grandchildren, except for heirs in the direct line.
For the first time, the conflict is framed as bigger than Meghan and Samantha. The real question becomes whether the monarchy can outlast another credibility crisis, and whether preserving the institution will matter more than protecting any individual.
This is absolutely insane that they thought they could get away with it, especially Meghan Markle and Harry. The con of the century, 2 cons of the century in the form of 2 royal children included in the line of succession.
The palace's refusal to clarify anything is portrayed as gasoline on the fire. With every hour of silence, the controversy grows, inviting commentators and amateur investigators alike to fill the vacuum.
Oh, that she never intended to go to the Portland hospital. She intended to have the baby at home.
While supporters and critics clash around her, Samantha is framed as unusually calm, speaking without theatrics, but still steadily chipping away at Meghan's carefully managed image.
Even though Meghan had let it be known she wanted a home birth, it was probably very realistic that her first child at 37, it was going to be born in hospital.
So at the time, Archie Mountbatten Windsor was born May 6, 2019.
The suggestion here is simple but potent. Samantha may still have more to reveal, and the threat of further receipts keeps the pressure alive, even when she says very little.
I think the palace and the machinery of the monarchy needs to take Harry and Meghan more seriously and make sure that Harry and Meghan's antics don't impact the future of the
The media frenzy becomes a character in its own right. Privacy battles, historical comparisons, and constant speculation turn every missing answer into a headline and every rumor into something that feels almost official.
I travelled the world with him and I did really enjoy working with him. But, now I really don't care if I ever see him again because the way he's behaved towards the king and our queen and his brother and his sister-in-law is appalling.
In the video's climax, Samantha's power comes not from shouting but from restraint. Her final remarks are framed as controlled, cold, and impossible to soften, a challenge thrown not for attention, but for vindication. Recasts Samantha as the person who forced the royal story open. Whether viewers see her as brave or cruel, the narration insists that her words shattered the fairy tale and left behind a damaged family, a shaken institution, and a question that still refuses to disappear. The closing beat turns the controversy into a continuing saga, teasing a deeper unraveling still to come and inviting the audience to follow the next chapter of the investigation.